Hello and welcome to Legal Thinking with myself, Ed Wootton, and my co-host, Liam Pape.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Liam?
I am not too bad at all. As avid listeners will have noticed, we had another break last week so we could recuperate. I was on annual leave. I think you were on annual leave for a bit. And now we're back, fresh and ready to discuss some more legal things.
Yeah. So this week we picked a few stories that our members of our firm have been talking about on our website. Some very interesting legal topics, including stuff to do with divorce, data tracking for the people in social care, disability legislation as well. And yeah, I assume you've got something, Liam, as well. But shall I kick off, Liam, with my first one?
Yes, why not?
Fantastic. So we had something in the last few weeks about mudslinging in relation to divorce. Now, as you know, we talk a lot about divorce on this podcast, and no-fault divorce and amicable divorce, trying to, make sure that divorce is as friendly as possible at what is a difficult time. Our solicitors like Jane Martins come on and talks about how obviously emotion can run high, but it's very important to ensure that things, don't get heated, as something in the recent case of WC versus HC. Introductory remarks by the judge made, reference to the wife's statement because it contained a number of personal and prejudicial matters directed at her ex-husband, which were irrelevant and unlikely to affect the outcome of the case. Now, the author of this blog rightly makes the point that it's a common misconception that bad behaviour or moral indiscretions have any relevance or influence on the division of marital assets. Now, it's obviously a difficult time, so it's very, very useful to have this insight. It's a common misconception. We've covered a lot about the emotional challenges of divorce in the past with people like Jane Martins and divorce coach Claire Black and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something that keeps coming up, isn't it, Liam? And it's very important to fix. Yeah. Our next story, because I'm just going to move swiftly on just for the sake of time. Our next story comes from Fran Tremere and Sasha Bridgen, who have written about the fact that the Department of Health and Social Care have published information about the mandatory data to be provided via the capacity tracker from 31st of July. So that was Sunday just gone. Now, the capacity tracker is something about that tracks obviously capacity, but also vaccination and staffing within care homes. So it's really important for social care providers to know that this data needs to be provided. And they got some important dates in there and information breaking down what needs to be provided and everything like that. So it's definitely well worth going on to Info Hub and having a look at that if you're in the field of social care, because the first monthly day is due by the 14th of this month of August. So yeah, lots of information in there for people in the social care sector. Definitely encourage people to check that out. And then moving on yet again to another story that's been, I'm sure, in the news a fair bit. But there was a recent employment tribunal case in Scotland where the tribunal was asked to determine whether an employee with long COVID was disabled under the law, effectively. So whether he had been discriminated against by his employer because of the long COVID that he suffered. So Chris Amis in our employment team had a look at this, the case of Burke v Turning Point Scotland, and he'd been employed by Turning Point as a caretaker for almost 20 years, tested positive for COVID in November 2020, had many issues on his return to work as a result of long COVID. And the tribunal eventually found that Mr. Burke had a physical impairment caused by COVID-19, which had an adverse effect on his ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities such as cooking, ironing, walking to nearby shops, sleeping, concentrating for any length of time. And the effect was more than minor or trivial and was long-term, as it was likely to last at least 12 months. So the tribunal therefore determined that his long COVID amounted to a disability. Now, for employers, it's interesting because we all know that long COVID, I've seen other posts by many solicitors on the topic of long COVID. it's becoming more prevalent. Everyone knows that there's quite a few people being affected by it, so it's well worth understanding for employers that this kind of case can arise. So
and stuff like this is going to be an ongoing story as well. I mean, I was reading in the news last week that they've just classified some more kind of symptoms as official symptoms of long COVID. And it is things more than just like kind of respiratory, what's the word I'm looking for? Ailments? Yeah. And it is things more than just respiratory ailments. It's things kind of that you wouldn't necessarily associate with COVID, or especially the COVID that we were thinking about in 2020 and the way that presented itself. So this is something that employers especially just need to keep their eye on. So I've got one story as well, and this is from a publication called The Bookseller, which our private client team has done some writing for. The piece is essentially about how writers throw that much into their work with years of sweat, blood, toil and tears. So a little bit like everybody, they just need to be thinking about their estate planning. And of course, with authors, anything that they write is copyrighted for 70 years after they pass away. But I think a lot of authors won't realise the options that are open to them when it comes to estate planning. So this is something that we've written about, and I'd highly recommend that you go take a read, and that's on The Bookseller. So, for example, one of the things that's explored in the piece is that authors can appoint an individual to take care of their literary estate specifically. So it doesn't need to be the same person taking care of your whole estate. You can kind of divvy it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think succession planning is something that most people find difficult. So I can't imagine what it would be like for someone in that kind of field, where it's not 100%. Everything's not so tied down, I suppose, as it is in maybe some other areas. So yeah, really, really interesting. And we've got we've actually got a guest today, haven't we, Liam?
We do indeed. I'm very excited for this.
Okay, so and joining us today as well is Sophie Webb, who's the head of our charities committee at RWK Goodman. She's got some very exciting news about an upcoming charity event that we're holding in September.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. So, yes, we are bringing back our Step Ahead Challenge 2022 this September for two working weeks. We are walking 130 miles between our offices in Bath and our office in London for our new 4 chosen charities. For those of you that don't know, our chosen charities for 2021 to 23 are Centrepoint in London, Trauma Breakthrough in Bath, Sobel House in Oxford, and Swindon Food Collective in Swindon. It will be a relay-style walk from Bath to London, stopping at each of our offices along the way over a course of 10 working days. It's about 15 to 20 miles a day. So it's a challenge for many, I'm sure.
Yeah, and what was it about the 2018 event that you kind of wanted to do it again?
Yeah, so the 2018 event was incredibly successful. We had 130 members of staff and partners participating. We raised just under £18,000 for our chosen charities.
Right.
We found that the event itself was really inclusive. We had a tendency to do our big events and then be focused on the athletic amongst us. And we were conscious that we wanted to embrace kind of our inclusivity, our engagement, and get everybody together. So hence the Step Ahead Challenge was born to kind of create an event that many people feel that they could participate in, which we managed to succeed in 2018.
Yeah. And what is it about the charities that we've chosen for each of our offices? Can you tell us a bit about like why we might have chosen these ones in particular?
Yeah, of course. There tends to be a kind of a theme coming out of the charities that are chosen every couple of years. So a couple of years ago, a lot of our chosen charities were in relation to mental health. This time around, there's a bit of a kind of a sense of homelessness. So Centrepoint focuses on youth homelessness. Trauma Breakthrough focuses on people that have suffered significant trauma in their lives, whether that be a bereavement or things like sexual abuse. And Sobel House focuses on palliative end of life care, and Swindon Food Collective is a food bank. So a bit of a variety of charities that were chosen this year, but certainly focusing on kind of supporting the people in our local communities and the main real issues in those local communities, whether that be homelessness or palliative care, for example.
Yeah, so those kind of more local charities that people might not otherwise heard of, not just the bigger ones that everyone maybe has heard of and donates to already.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a fantastic event. I'm sure plenty of people will be signing up to do it. How can people donate if they want to do that?
Yeah, so people can donate via our fundraising link. It's on the bottom of our emails, it's on all of our social media, so it will just take you directly to our fundraising link, and you can just directly fundraise there. Or staff and partners, when they do sign up for the challenge, have got a hard copy fundraising page as well, so they can print that off and collect money donations in the old-fashioned way as well.
Great stuff. Thanks very much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for listening to this maybe slightly disjointed but kind of overview episode of Legal Thinking. Rest assured we'll be back to our usual schedule next week and the week after that. If you enjoyed this, or if you've enjoyed any of our previous episodes, do make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And similarly, just to remind you about the Step Ahead Challenge again, you can find more about that on the social media channels of RWK Goodman, or if you have an email from any of us, you can find all about it in the email signature there. That is the Step Ahead Challenge from RWK Goodman.
Yep, thanks for the extra plug there. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, give us a rating as well. And yeah, thanks very much for listening.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.